to the West Ham Transfer Rumour Show, and today we're going to be discussing that Tim Steidten is in Germany after attending the Asian Cup. Duran, singular, not the band, although it's more likely that Simon Le Bon will actually join West Ham than Aston Villa forward. We're going to be discussing Jota, formerly of Celtic, now at Al Ittihad. But first we're going to start with Callum Wilson. Now, some people really dislike transfer rumour shows, and whenever you upload one, you always get the comments, this is made up, it's never going to happen, Moyes hates him, Sullivan hates spending money, it's all clickbait. But in the case of Calvin Phillips, the imminent signing of Calvin Phillips, who's having his medical today, so it could be announced tonight or tomorrow, there's proof that within the transfer rumours, occasionally, there's truth. There's genuine interest there from West Ham, or genuine interest from clubs into West Ham. Now, I understand why a lot of people dislike transfer rumours, because among that little bit of truth, that little nugget of truth, it's covered by a load of made up stuff, whether it be journalist talk, agent talk, for whatever reason. There's stuff that's made up. But here at Hammer Chat, we don't make up the transfer rumours, we just discuss them hypothetically because we're a fan channel and not a news organisation. However, in the way of the Callum Wilson transfer rumour earlier today, I think this one falls under bullshit. The reports earlier today were that West Ham were interested in bringing Callum Wilson to the London Stadium. Newcastle United are looking for 18 million for their striker. He's also been linked to Arsenal and Man United today as well. Now, there's two directions to come at this one. There is the West Ham angle and the Newcastle one, and we're going to discuss that because I'm quite impressed by what Newcastle are trying to do in the January transfer window, actually. But in regards to West Ham, I'm going to start with that one because I'm a West Ham fan and I'm biased. There's just no element of truth to this, that West Ham want to sign him for 18 million. Ex-West Ham employees basically threw a little bit of a curveball out there at journalists earlier in the week, predicting that we'd be linked to Callum Wilson because his agent is Will Salthouse, who we know has a good relationship previously with David Sullivan. I think that's fair to say. He's had sometimes his clients have joined West Ham. Salthouse is Callum Wilson's agent. He's the co-host of a podcast with Michael Antonio. He's available. He's homegrown. He scores plenty of goals. I mean, he scores so much goals against West Ham that if we were to sign him, I think I'd back him to score an own goal on his debut. So there's a lot of reasons as to why there's a little bit of credibility to this transfer rumour. But X has dismissed it immediately, saying there's no chance of us spending 18 million on a striker who's going to be 32 years old and has a questionable injury record. So there's nothing in this one whatsoever, and I believe that we're not interested in him. However, X and Jacob Steinberg have both said that West Ham are monitoring the situation, and Callum Wilson was to perhaps become available on loan for the remainder of the season, then we'd perhaps be interested in him. Again, I believe that rumour too, because why would we not be interested? If Callum Wilson was available for the next few months, why would we not try and bring him to London Stadium? Because he's still a top striker. I think he's been a brilliant Premier League striker, and he's been very unfortunate with injuries, but whenever he is fit for Newcastle or previously Bournemouth, he scores goals. The problem is, we signed a very similar striker 12 months ago. A striker with perhaps a questionable injury record, but when he's fit, he scores goals. We signed one of them in Danny Ings. It's not happened at West Ham. A different type of player in Callum Wilson, who's perhaps more suited to a lone striker role, as we've seen at Newcastle. But you just can't see this one happening at all. But that was the transfer rumour earlier today. Now, I'm going to talk about Newcastle, so this perhaps won't be for you, but if you're new around here, please do subscribe by clicking that subscription button. It's completely free, it takes 2 seconds, and drop a like on the video as well by clicking the thumbs up. Now, I think what Newcastle are trying to do, or it's reported they're trying to do, is move on some of these players. I think it's the right thing. Callum Wilson, they're holding out for big money for Kieran Trippier. The older players, they're really restricted at the minute with FFP. Eddie Howe's spoken very publicly about how they can't do anything, they're restricted to the loan market. Even then, they're struggling in there because nobody wants to help out Newcastle. So they're looking at potentially moving on one or two of their older players who will be on decent wages at Newcastle as well, and recouping quite substantial fees. 20 million for Trippier, 18 million for Callum Wilson. It's big fees for players well in their 30s, and I think that would be smart by Newcastle. So I understand why they're looking to move them on. I just can't see Wilson joining West Ham, and I certainly can't see Newcastle looking to loan out Wilson. And if they were, A, there'd be a big loan fee there, and B, I don't think they're going to be loaning to West Ham given where we both are in the league. We are rivals to Newcastle this season. That might not always be the case, but for this season, we are rivals with Newcastle in terms of the Premier League. So there's just no chance that they're going to be keen to help us out. Just like nobody's helping them they're not going to be helping us. Now, moving on from Wilson to Jota, the former Celtic winger, who rocked up at Saudi earlier on in the season. £25 million he went for, played a few games, then he was unregistered from the squad. There's a limit in regards to who they can register, and he didn't make the cut. There was players they preferred, there was players that cost more money on bigger wages. They went in the team ahead of him. He has been able to play in the Champions League and the Club World Cup, so he has had some minutes this season. Like I said, he started the season, but for the last few months he's not been playing domestic football in the Saudi Pro League. He's been restricted to Champions League and then the Club World Cup as well. He's been linked with a loan move to West Ham. I'm lukewarm on this one. Do I believe there's merit in it? Yes, because he is available. He's available. I think there's so much talk, and there has been in the build-up to January transfer window, I believe, to generate interest in him, to get him out of Saudi, because it's in everyone's interest. It's in Al Ittihad's interest that he leaves, because they're paying him 200 grand a week at the minute to effectively not do anything. He's not playing football. It's in his interests he leaves, because he's just a way to turn 25 years old. He's still young. So I think it ticks all the boxes for a move away. But I guess it depends how much wages are they wanting covered, because like I said, he's on 200 grand at the minute. They've just spent 25 million on him. So I'd imagine they're not going to be too keen to sort of give us him for free. But then you look at the case of Jordan Henderson, where he's had to rip up his contract and defer his wages to get a move over to Ajax. So I think there's some truth in Jota leaving, whether he comes to West Ham or not. I think, in the summer I would have been all over this one. And I guess the question is he better than Said Benrahma? Well, I think he's been more useful than Said Benrahma. He was really good at Celtic, but he had it really good at Celtic as well. And it's a bit like, when we had Jesse Lingard and he opted not to come back to us that summer because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer sort of promised him an opportunity at Man United, so Jesse believed he could maybe get a second chance at Man U. But we all look at it and think, well, that was your purple patch. You were at the right club, just stay where you are. And I think there's an element of that with Jota for me, where he had it good at Celtic. He was good, but he had it good, because that didn't quite worked out for him at Benfica. He'd gone to Celtic, he'd hit the heights, and yes, he was one of the best players in the Scottish Premiership. I think they did well to get 25 million for him. Is he good enough for the Premier League? I think he's good enough for some clubs in the Premier League. Is he good enough for West Ham? It depends on which West Ham you're looking at. Is he good enough for a top 6 club in the Premier League? I don't think he is, traditionally. Are we that? Well, league position wise we are, but stature perhaps not. I'd be happy with this transfer, although I perhaps wouldn't be doing cartwheels. A bit like James Ward-Prowse. I think he's a good player. I think he'll contribute something to the team, but I don't think he's going to have the level of impact that certainly Kudus or Paqueta has. And they don't all have to do that. I think it'd be unfair to have that expectations on him. So I'd like him at West Ham, but if we weren't to get him, I wouldn't be too disappointed. I think it'd be a good option to have. I think he would improve the squad. But part of my reservation regarding this is the squad registration. I know it's boring. I know some people don't like it. Some people don't like transfer rumours. Within the people that can put up with transfer rumours, or some people don't like me talking about squad registration rules. But it's such an important part. And while as fans it's easy to dismiss it because it is boring, the club won't be dismissing it. The club will very much be focusing on that squad registration for the Europa League. That will be something they're taking into consideration. So the transfer of Jota, I think, might be one to wait for a few more days. I know the transfer deadline's very, very close. It's on Thursday, so we're running out of time. But I still feel there's perhaps better options out there to bring in ahead of him. So I wouldn't dismiss this one. I think there's merit in the rumour. But my enthusiasm for the transfer would be a good player, would be a good option. But I'm not sold because of the registration rules. It's a bit of a boring reason. But that's my honest opinion. Now, a player we've been linked to recently is Duran of Aston Villa. Now, Jacob Steinberg reported at the weekend that we'd had a bid rejected for him, a loan bid rejected for him. He was linked heavily to Chelsea this week, and it was believed that Aston Villa were trying to get somebody in. They were going to loan out Duran, Chelsea wanted him, and then they were going to allow Amanda Broya to go on. So it was almost like this little triangle of us, Aston Villa and Chelsea getting involved in like a striker swap to some extent. Well, that's been ruled out. Duran's out for the next couple of months. That transfer rumour disappears just like that. It was funny because I see the transfer rumour like an hour before the news came out that he was injured. So say 12 o'clock, it was, hey, West Ham, Chelsea, they all want Duran. By 1 o'clock, it's, he's out for a few months. That's that one off the table. So that won't be happening. The Duran one shall not be happening. Versatile defender, West Ham. It's believed that X has reported this, and there was another journalist that reported it. I can't recall who. David Ornstein, the Athletic, a credible journalist, a really credible one. And David Ornstein suggested that West Ham are looking at or for a versatile defender this month. Obviously, we've just sanctioned the move for Thilo Kehrer to Monaco. I think we're looking okay defensively, maybe on the light side, but I don't think there's a real demand to bring in a defender. But that's one rumour, and you do wonder if it ties into the next piece of news, which is that Tim Steidten is in Germany. So obviously that brings the question, why or whom? We know he's just been to the Asian Cup. We now know he's in Germany. He's a busy boy, Tim Steidten. Gets around, doesn't he? Now, is it because we're meeting up with the club representatives for Ibrahim Osman? Are we meeting his agent in Germany? Is that where we're meeting them to get the business deal done? I don't know, but I'm surprised if we are in advanced negotiations with Osman, as it's been reported, and by Fabrizio Romano as well. You would expect Tim Steidten to be involved in that, and heavily involved in it too. So I'd imagine he is where he needs to be to get that deal done. But there are a few players that from the Bundesliga that have been at the Asian Cup, and some big players as well. And there's one or two versatile defenders that have been at the Asian Cup that play in the Bundesliga. So you do just wonder if, while there's 2 or 3 separate rumours, if actually they're all the same rumour, that Steidten being in Germany is linked to the fact that we've been looking at players in the Asian Cup. And that's also linked to the fact that we're looking at a versatile defender. So perhaps we're looking for a versatile defender that plays in the Bundesliga that was playing in the Asian Cup. There's 1 or 2 of them. You don't have to look far. But that's just me putting 3 transfer rumours together and assuming it's the same player, because I don't believe that we're after a versatile defender, someone in the Bundesliga and someone at the Asian Trophy, that we were after 3 different players. I go back to the squad registration rules. It's not possible. It's not possible. We can only make 3 changes. We've already done 1, which is Kehrer out and Calvin Phillips in. You can only make 2 more. And the players we've got, we need to move on. Now, there is talk Benrahma is going to disappear, and Pablo Fornals is going back to Spain, and Sevilla's trying to get a deal done this window for Fornals. They're not going to wait till the summer. They want to get him done now. And I read an article earlier from the Spanish side of things that they're basically viewing Fornals as a rescue act, that they've got this prized asset struggling at West Ham, and whichever Spanish club gets him, they're getting a bargain. And as a West Ham fan, to some extent, it's sort of difficult to view it as that. But if we were to flip it round and say a young England international went over to Spain or Italy and they did really well there for a couple of seasons, and they stopped performing, they were out of the team for a couple of seasons, us as fans of English clubs would look at them going, actually, they're a good player, we could go get them, we could bring them back to England, they'd do well for our team. So I could see there being a bit of sort of truth in what the Spanish are reporting, and I think Sevilla are trying to get it done this month to get a march on the likes of Real Betis, who are waiting until the summer. So West Ham are under a little bit of pressure, because if we are wanting to bring in the likes of Osman and Jota, we're going to have to get the likes of Benrahma and Fornals out of the club as well to make way for them. So an interesting week ahead. The transfer deadline's in a week. We've also played Bournemouth on the same day, but we've got a week until deadline day. And it could be busy at West Ham. I don't know if we'll see 2 out, 2 in, but I expect to see 1 out and 1 more in. Calvin Phillips plus 1 more, and I think we'll see 1 more player leaving on top of Thilo Kehrer. Likely to be Saïd Benrahma. I'd be surprised if it's Fornals. So my prediction, for anyone that's interested, is that Benrahma leaves, we sign Calvin Phillips, and we sign 1 more attacking player, whether that's Ibrahim Osman or whether it's Jota. I have a feeling that Jota's maybe a backup option, that if Osman doesn't happen, we go get Jota in, so we have that attacking player to authorise the departure of Saïd Benrahma and see us through to the summer. Maybe we go for Osman in the summer. Maybe no, he doesn't join anyone in January transfer window. That's my vibe. So we'll talk about transfer rumours. I've consumed the transfer rumours, and that's what I've digested, and that's what I'm throwing up, I guess. My sick prediction is Benrahma leaves, we bring in Calvin Phillips, and we bring in an attacking midfielder in the January transfer window as well. Anyway, I'm going to shut up and disappear. For those of you who do enjoy the transfer rumours, please do drop a like on it. Subscribe to Hammers Chat. I'll catch up with you tomorrow. We've got a couple of different videos coming up over the next few days. I've recorded a tier list with Gonzo. We love a good rank on Hammers Chat. I'm doing a podcast with somebody from another West Ham channel this afternoon. That'll go up over the next couple of days. And also, I had a bit of a brain fart might be a better way of putting it. But while I was talking about squad registration rules, I thought I might do one of those. I quite like doing those factual information videos. I might do a squad registration one and explain why West Ham is actually restricted. Because sometimes I listen to people like Gonzo, who's like, let's bring in these 4 players, and I think it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So I might patronise Gonzo in the video. Anyway, I'm disappearing. I'll catch up with you tomorrow.